You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio, listen for the Spark.
Combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for point of view.
All right, this is Jesse. How y'all doing out there today? Boy, oh boy, what a day. And I'm actually not referring to the news. I rearranged the studio today. Oh, yes, I did. Before, if I wanted something off the printer, it was down the hall, around the corner, through the door. Well, the printer's now 2 feet behind me. I love it already. I love it already. I don't have to go chasing my show prep. Oh yes, of course I've got show prep. Believe it or not, I didn't even get through everything from last night. So here's the combined stack. Oh yeah, quite a bit of show prep. What can I say? So much, it doesn't sound right. So there's a lot in the news, too. And no, I'm not making light of the terrorist attack in Paris. No, I'm not putting down what recently happened in London. Or anything else. What I am doing, I do want to remind you of something else. June 6th. Yes. We're going to do our own on this day in history. My way. Yes. D-Day. It was the invasion of Nazi-occupied France by Allied forces. That includes the UK, or Great Britain, America, and Canada during World War II. In the end, D-Day was remarkably successful, slowing the Germans dramatically in their effort to rush troops to Normandy. I mean, it was quite the battle. More than 7 decades after D-Day, the invasion of Normandy, France, 2 local World War II veterans can still see the destruction and lives lost in one of the largest amphibious assaults in military history. Charlie Maupin, 97, and Jim Wooters, 94, both of Columbus, didn't know each other at the time, but they were only a couple of miles apart on different ships in the English Channel on the morning of June 6, 1944. Maupin said when he landed, he saw rows and rows of bodies covering the beach. He was delayed before going ashore on June 7th with the 175th Infantry Regiment. They died for the cause of freedom. We must never forget. Today is the 73rd anniversary of D-Day, and we are losing World War II veterans at an alarming rate. Now, there's nothing wrong with their passing, but because they are up there in years, as that article pointed out. However, please, if you know a World War II veteran, shake their hand. Thank them. Remember them. I mean, it was such a special thing that they did. It really was. they laid down their life for others, for the men and women of this country, for the men and women of another country who were oppressed. So it was really, and this was one of the bloodiest battles. Go look up, I'm not even going to read all of it on air. Go Google D-Day or Normandy, the Battle of Normandy. And you'll find some pretty incredible things. So, and there are just as many stories of woe as there are of joy and success. So, it was quite a day. It really was. It was truly a momentous, memorable day. Those men, and I say men, not men and women, because back in those days, it was all men. So, I'm sorry, don't yell at me, I didn't make the rules. Back in World War II, there were only men on the front lines. Alright, so I'm going to encourage you, you got homework, folks. Go look up D-Day. A senior South Korean defense official was suspended Monday for deliberately failing to report to the new Liberal President Moon the arrival of several more launchers for a contentious U.S. missile defense system. THAAD, kids, THAAD. Moon's conservative predecessor, Park Geun-hye, had allowed the United States to deploy THAAD to deal with North Korea's nuclear threats. A THAAD battery is normally operated with 6 launchers, and 2 of them were publicly installed in a southeastern Korean town in late April, days before Moon took office on May 10th. Last week, Moon's office said it found that 4 more launchers have since arrived in South Korea, but that defense officials didn't mention them in policy briefings they gave in late May. Moon demanded a probe, calling the incident very shocking. Moon's investigation orders prompted media speculation about its motives. I mean, come on, people. You can pretty much Google this little piece of information. A THAAD defense shield is operated with 6 launchers. I don't tell tales out of school. A THAAD battery consists of 6 truck-mounted launchers that can fire up to 48 interceptor missiles, fire control and communications equipment, and a powerful X-band radar. So it's one of those things, if I can find that in 20 seconds, he could have too. And anybody who is just wanting to keep their head in the sand is just an idiot. I'm sorry. If you can't go to the computer or have one of your aides look up on open source radio, open source internet, what a THAAD missile defense system consists of. Do you really belong being president of a country? And I'm not, okay, before you guys say, well, Donald Trump this and Donald Trump that. A, I don't cover our president. You'll hear more about President Moon, Kim Jong-un, and Bashar al-Assad on this show than you will Trump. You want to talk politics? You want to hear about politics? Right after me on Tuesday nights, we got the Jen and Rick show, and right after that is America Off the Rails, and both are fantastic U.S. politics shows. There's also The Right Side on Wednesday night. There's so many U.S. politics shows out there. It's not my thing. I want to cover our men and women in uniform and the international stuff nobody remembers to cover. I mean, you probably hadn't heard. You probably heard about D-Day, but I guarantee you probably hadn't heard about the debacle with the THAAD missile launch system. All right, just as a reminder, you can tag me in a tweet at Jesse's POV. You can catch me on KLRNRadio.com in the chat room /chat. You can email me at the station, Jesse's POV at KLRNRadio.com. All right. No, I'm not going to a commercial break. I just had to calm myself down, and saying something like that's a good way to do it. Sorry, still rearranging the furniture. Trash can was out of place. Now, since we mentioned D-Day, the current occupant of a secluded home on one of Spain's Canary Islands is determined to find out whether it was once used by the Nazis as a secret U-boat base. Oh yeah. Pedro Fumero, who moved into the so-called Villa Winter in 2012, believes his home's impressive views of Jandia National Park and interesting architecture were all part of a secret Nazi plan to monitor the waters off North Africa during World War II. Fumero, whose grandfather helped build Villa Winter, has no evidence to back up the claim. There are numerous architectural and historical quirks that have led the 48-year-old to believe it was a Nazi hideaway. So, there's very little knowledge about the previous owner. The basement has walls that are more than 6 feet thick, and there's multiple windowless rooms in the house, including a tunnel-like space that runs the length of the house with just a small window at one end. There was a letter from a German official to Luftwaffe Chief Hermann Göring. He was a Nazi Party leader. That it was rumored in the Canaries that one Gustav Winter supplying fuel to German submarines, and that this was attracting the attention of enemy spies. Winter also built an airstrip between his home and the nearby beach. However, historians don't think that was the real nefarious thing. Alright, so it's pretty interesting, but no one's really sure. No one's really sure. So I may have to do some digging on this. I will set that story aside. There's a reason I had to move the trash can. When I finish with this story, it gets dropped. Actually, it's a recycle bin, but yeah, it gets dropped right into the bin. Now, Some of the stuff I pulled yesterday but did not get to because, well, I kind of went off on a rant, but I do that once in a while. So guess what? You guys never know what kind of show you're going to get. So, one of the London attack suspects, Mr. Butt, B-U-T-T. Sorry, it's what it is. His wife just had a baby who was 2 weeks old. His neighbors saw him coming and going. He was a man described by his neighbors as a man more likely to share candy with the neighborhood children than spread violent jihad. However, he did appear briefly in a Channel 4 television documentary about extremists living in Britain. The film featured a number of British Muslim men openly expressing their support for violence. In one scene, Mr. Butt stands in a line with 5 other men in Regent's Park in London, as another man kneels in front of them, unfurling a Daesh flag. And he slipped through the security net. He did have a nickname, ABS, A-B-S. So, he did always dress in religious garb, with sweatpants and sneakers underneath. So, who knows? I just find it's interesting that one of them was possibly in a video about violent Islamic extremism. I don't know if he did it. All right. The other thing that was interesting, British police found what appeared to be Molotov cocktails in the back of a van used by 3 militants to ram people during the London Bridge attack. At least a dozen bottles filled with clear liquid, which had rags stuffed in their tops, were found in the back of the hired van. Yeah, that sounds like a Molotov cocktail. Okay. I think that's enough on the terrorist attacks of the other day. Give me a moment to look through my show prep and find today's. Of course I've got something on the Paris attack. You think I wouldn't have caught that yet? All right. An assailant wielding a hammer attacked Paris police guarding Notre Dame Cathedral on Tuesday and reportedly yelled, "This is for Syria," before being shot and wounded by officers outside one of France's most popular tourist sites. At least 600 people were blocked inside the iconic 12th century church while police first secured the streets around it, then combed the pews while visitors sat with their hands raised for the check. The assault was the latest act of violence, of course, targeting high-profile sites in France. Now, France is still under a state of emergency after a string of Islamic extremist attacks. Now, nobody's claimed responsibility, but Police searching a residence linked to the attacker in a Paris suburb found a declaration of allegiance to Daesh. Interior Minister Gerard Collomb told reporters that a police officer in a 3-person patrol was lightly wounded in the attack, and the assailant was shot and wounded by a fellow officer. Shot and wounded. He was not dead when this article was written. The attacker's condition was being evaluated. A person came up behind the police officers, armed with a hammer, and started to hit the police. The man yelled, "This is for Syria." The attacker appears to have acted alone. A hammer and kitchen knives were found on the assailant, as well as a student identity card indicating he was from Algeria. Authorities are working to verify the card's authenticity. I mean, think about it. We've gone from a time when terrorist plots were really sophisticated. Pilots had to train to learn how to fly a plane so they could crash one into the World Trade Center. Now, your car can be the weapon. The hammer that you use to hang your photos. There's many, many, many weapon possibilities. And it doesn't take much these days to have something you could use to commit a terrorist act. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just that simple. Unfortunately, it takes less and less. The weapons get simpler. The surveillance, there's more and more people to surveil. And it makes the jobs of law enforcement who are struggling. And we'll talk more about this after the bottom of the hour commercial break. But all these people who are over in Syria, in Raqqa, and all these other places, they're not just disappearing. They are coming home in many cases. So, and how much training do they have? What's their motivation? That's something we don't know. All right, well, it is time to pay them bills. Yes, it is time for that commercial break. Just as a reminder, I am in the chat room on KLRNRadio.com, and you can tag me in a tweet at Jesse's POV. And you can, of course, drop me a line at the station, Jesse's POV at KLRNRadio.com. And I will see you on the other side.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine combat veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year. And I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 8687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
For hanging in there with me over that commercial break. I was kind of exploring my rearranged off studio here. It doubles as an office, but hey, it's fun. You know how you get something rearranged and it's all kind of nice and new? I definitely like it. I likes it a lot. So what can I say? But it's been a busy day. So, all right. Back to the news. Now, I do have to report the incident happened around 4:20 p.m. A large number of police cars descended. This is back to the Paris Notre Dame incident, and the attacker was shot dead by police. And of course, the incident recalled 2 other attacks on soldiers providing security at prominent locations around Paris, including the Louvre and Orly Airport. And the Louvre attack was in February, Orly was in March. Well, America's top diplomat in China has resigned. No, it's not because he got tired of Chinese food. He's upset at Donald Trump's decision to withdraw from the Paris climate change agreement. Now, he wasn't the ambassador. He was the chargé d'affaires, basically the assistant ambassador. And he was set to be replaced by former Iowa Governor Terry Branstad, who was confirmed on May 22nd but hadn't yet arrived on post. He announced his resignation during a town hall meeting on Monday with embassy employees. Former Ambassador Dan Feldman, who most recently served as the special representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan and was ranked supervisor for almost five years, described him as a quintessentially professional Foreign Service officer, calling him thoughtful and calm, judicious and non-political. Feldman, who was a political appointee in the Obama administration, lamented the loss of rank and others like him from the State Department. A State Department spokesman confirmed Rank's departure, but said he was retiring. So, if he has enough years to retire and retires, by all means. If he does not, then I guess he's looking for work. We haven't done much on Mosul and Raqqa lately, so let's take a few minutes. Do you remember your Middle East scorecard? Let's do a refresher, because it's been a while since we've done it. President Bashar al-Assad is backed up by Russia and Iran. Who is one of Iran's trading partners? North Korea. Who is North Korea's big brother? China. And I'm going to make a little addition here. Russia's been stepping in to fill part of the void. Yep. Russia has been stepping in to fill part of the void. Russia, for those of you who aren't regular listeners to the show, Russia recently activated a ferry service between North Korea and Vladivostok. No mention on how often, but I'm sorry, to have regular transit between North Korea and Russia. It's allegedly for Chinese tourists, but I'm not sure how many Chinese tourists go on vacation in North Korea. It just doesn't. I'm sorry, folks. Call me biased. Call me crazy. Well, I'm not crazy enough to go visit Pyongyang, But how many tourists go to Pyongyang on vacation? How many? I can't think of many. I just can't. I really can't think of that many people who go to Pyongyang on vacation. It just doesn't happen. Okay, sorry about that, folks. There was a minor technical glitch. Yes, I had a technical glitch. We are working through it. Tonight is my night of technical gremlins. Alright, so back to the Middle East. U.S. Syrian forces launch the offensive on Raqqa. Launched north of the city of Raqqa in an attempt to capture the de facto capital of Daesh after 3 years terrorist group controlling the city. Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces and Syrian Arab coalition partners began moving towards the capital in November. Now, it's taken them ages. Lieutenant General Steve Townsend, commander of the Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve, in conjunction with U.S. Special Operations Force as advisors, it is expected to be a long and difficult but successful campaign. It would deliver a blow to the idea of Daesh as a physical caliphate. It could also be a major turning point in the war against extremists. All right. Ramadan. Daesh has massacred. Yes, Daesh has massacred more than 160 civilians as they attempted to flee, fighting in embattled western Mosul during Ramadan. The jihadists have repeatedly warned of an uptick in brutal attacks during the Islamic holy month, with ruthless targeting of a Baghdad ice cream parlor, killing 15. Yes, maybe Ramadan is why these attacks are happening. I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. But I am going to say this. What's going on in Mosul and Raqqa is certainly a human rights violation. And our UN ambassador, Nikki Haley, had the guts to speak up against such human rights violations at the United Nations Human Rights Council. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
I want to underscore our strong conviction to the protection and promotion of human rights. Additionally, I want to highlight that respect for human rights is deeply intertwined with peace and security, and that human rights violations and abuses often serve as triggers for instability and conflict. While this body is dedicated to human rights, all UN bodies, including the UN Security Council, should be working to address human rights violations and abuses as part of its work. In this session of the Council, it is crucial to adopt the strongest possible resolutions on the critical human rights situations in Syria, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Eritrea, Belarus, and Ukraine, and that it follow up to prevent further human rights violations and abuses in those countries.
I think she makes several very good points, and in some ways I'd like her to take it a few steps further. But she is an ambassador to the United Nations, our ambassador, and she does an excellent job. All right, speaking of national security, I have a clip here from John Kelly, the Homeland Security Secretary, from today's Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. It's the Senate one. Let's take a listen. We're not going to listen to all of it.
American safer. It already is. Real ID will soon be enforced at our airports, land ports of entry, and all federal facilities. And it's a critically important 9/11 Commission recommendation that others have been willing to ignore, but which I will ensure is implemented on schedule with no extension for states that are not taking the effort seriously. For those states and territories that cannot or will not make the January 2018 deadline, they should encourage now their citizens to acquire other forms of ID compliant with the Real ID law, like passports, available, of course, from the State Department. We need to prevent bad actors, regardless of religion, race, or nationality, from entering our country. In recent years, we have witnessed an unprecedented spike in terrorist travel. There are more terrorist hotspots and foot soldiers now than almost any time in modern history. In Syria and Iraq, for instance, we have thousands of jihadist fighters that have converged from more than 120 countries. As our superb military machine, acting in coalition with and leading many other like-minded partners, as they succeed on the battlefield in the caliphate in Iraq and Syria, these jihadi fighters are returning home to Europe, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Australia, and even the Western Hemisphere. And who knows what they're up to, but we can guess. They are heading to what they think are safe havens to continue their plotting and otherwise advance their toxic ideology of hate, death, and intolerance wherever they are allowed to hide.
All right, John Kelly makes a couple of excellent points. There is something called Real ID. We're not going to go into it here in detail tonight, but it is coming. And if your state driver's license is not Real ID compliant, then you might find yourself in need of another form of identification. I already have multiple forms of identification. 2, in fact, issued by the federal government. I have my Armed Forces Dependence Card, and I have my federal passport. So I'm not worried about Real ID. I don't know if the state in which I hold my driver's license is Real ID compliant or not. But I can tell you that whether it is or not, I have no worries. And he put it correctly. terrorists that are returning home from the soon-to-be failed and extinguished caliphate of Daesh are bringing with them hate and terror. And one thing he didn't mention was their training. So let's take a listen to just a bit more of what he had to say.
We expect that some will look to travel to the United States to carry out attacks. With this context in mind, the President has issued clear direction in the form of an executive order to the entire executive branch to prevent the entry of aliens who seek to do us harm. But the current court injunction, of course, prevents us from taking steps right now to improve the security of the homeland until we see how that court action plays out. While some discuss, debate, and argue the name, title, or label that best describes the President's EO, professional men and women like me are actually in the business of implementing the President's intent to secure the nation, and we are doing that. We'll let the chattering class and self-appointed critics talk about the name. I just hope the Congress sees the wisdom in what the President is trying to do to protect America and its people, and that the Congress are willing to work with those of us in the business of securing the nation. And it's been my experience in less than 4 months on the job that the Congress is in fact committed to that. The court's injunction has prevented us from implementing a temporary ban on travel by aliens from 6 countries that are in states of civil war, are state sponsors of terrorism, and are basically failed states. They are the same countries identified by the Congress in previous administration in 2015 as nations of great concern. At the time, the expectation was that those in the business of securing the nation lawfully would focus additional attention on these nations and others in similar circumstances for supplementary and accurate vetting. It has nothing to do with religion or skin color or the way they live their lives, but all about security for the United States and nothing else. Americans safer.
Yes, his job is to keep us safe here at home. And he highlighted how the courts have made this a very challenging task. While he may have to fight to keep us safe, not have to fight the federal court system. Now, I don't get into U.S. politics. I really don't. But I'm going to stray from that for just a moment. I have a distinct feeling that we have an activist legislature on the bench, at work, in many places. They create law. They rule on feelings and emotions. This is not the duty of a judge. All right. Let's look at the Asia-Pacific region, because there's a few articles I want to bring to your attention from there. Off my soapbox, we are going to the Asia-Pacific region. Just getting my stories straightened out again. They're always getting turned around. Despite President Trump's bold proclamation that a North Korean nuclear missile capable of hitting the United States won't happen, Kim Jong-un is on his way, faster than many thought, to have an intercontinental ballistic missile ready to strike the U.S. He wants to flatten Washington, D.C. Now, yes, Quackers is off his rocker. That's not news. However, what I did find fascinating was senior military officials say that a nuclear-armed North Korea wouldn't be the end of the world, and that the United States can survive a nuclear North Korea, but a first strike could start World War III. And no, I'm not exaggerating. Now, we've got Russia, the world's second greatest nuclear power, openly opposing the U.S. foreign policy in nearly every dimension. Pakistan, a country rife with corruption and Islamist groups gaining traction, has nuclear weapons. A first strike would definitely, in my mind, start World War III. I don't want to see a nuclear world war. I don't think Kim Jong-un subscribes to the MAD policy. MAD, mutually assured destruction. Now, there is a real risk that even without nuclear weapons, Seoul would fall in a conflict with North Korea. And that's not something the U.S. can tolerate. So North Korea is going to continue on its path toward a nuclear weapon. But we can only hope that, like Russia, China, and Pakistan, it will never use it. Now, what about China? China's been backing away from North Korea just a little bit. The way out of the diplomatic trap in North Korea runs through Beijing. The People's Republic of China has more to lose than the United States from the soon-to-be nuclear power on its doorstep. Regime change, led by China, may be the best of a range of unappealing options. China has the experience and resources to rebuild the Hermit Kingdom. But the government seems paralyzed by the escalating situation. It has stuck to its diplomatic philosophy of not meddling in the internal affairs of other countries, a position that is increasingly inflexible for a would-be world power. There's also valid economic concerns. Tougher sanctions that destabilize North Korea's economy could send refugees flooding across the border into the Rust Belt of northeast China, where they would aggravate serious economic stress. Now keep in mind the relationship between the DPRK and China is fraying. The North Korean regime has snatched Chinese fishing boats and tested atomic bombs during important Chinese holidays. It's launched ballistic missile trials during recent Belt and Road Infrastructure Forum in Beijing, stealing the headlines from a summit intended to showcase China's global leadership. Kim Jong-un has also moved against senior government officials who are considered pro-China, including his uncle, his half-brother, and his half-brother. Propping up the road's stake also has the opportunity cost. Support for the Kim regime, which depends on Chinese oil donations just to keep its lights on, not only justifies the continued presence of U.S. troops south of the DMZ, but undermines South Korean politicians who favor closer relations with China. Now, this frustrates not only the politicians, but the younger Chinese citizens who love their South Korean pop and fashion. So who knows what China's going to do? Do I want to see a regime change? Maybe. But in a way, I'd almost rather dance with the devil I know. Alright, one last real quick story. And then I gotta make my way out of here for the Jen and Rick show. Trump's latest budget proposal for the fiscal year 2018 could lead to up to $90,000 bonuses to lure troops back into the United States Armed Forces. Some soldiers could get $90,000 up front by committing to another 4 or more years. The Army seeks to reverse some of the downsizing that occurred under the previous administration after years of growth spurred by the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Under the current plan, active duty Army will grow by 16,000 soldiers, taking it to 476,000 by October. The National Guard and Army Reserve will expand, but it will be a smaller expansion. To meet the mandate, the Army must find 6,000 new soldiers and convince 9,000 current soldiers to stay on, and add 1,000 officers. Just the last 2 weeks, the Army has paid out more than $26 million in bonuses. All right, folks, as always, you can find me on Twitter at Jesse's POV. You can shoot me an email at the station, jessespov@klrnradio.com. Miss a show live, never fear. Search iTunes, Google Play, Podcast.com, Pocket Cast, and many other places where podcasts are found. On that note, folks, yeah, you know what's coming. Ah!